Hello everyone, welcome back to the second channel. Recently I watched some of the old South Park Christmas episodes and I wondered, should Mr Hankey be brought back to South Park? So, in this video I'm going to be giving the reasons why he should and the reasons why he shouldn't. So, let's get started. So, the main reason they got rid of Mr Hankey was because he doesn't, as a character, really fit with the modern theme of the show, because in the past 5 years they've been moving away from how the show used to be, when it was just, you know, these four boys going out having weird adventures and a new storyline every episode. What they've moved towards is a satire of modern politics and other modern issues. That's the main reason why Mr Hankey was retired as a character, is because his character doesn't fit in the modern show, because their sense of humour in South Park now is not just vulgar humour and toilet humour like it used to be. Instead, it's complex humour revolving around politics and other modern issues. That's the main reason why Mr Hankey disappeared from the show, but it's not the only reason. The second reason is because his character was getting stale. There's only so much that you can do with a character, particularly something so crude and basic as a Christmas poo that walks around spreading Christmas joy. So it's obvious from his depiction in the series that they pretty much milked him out to a point where it was just the same thing every time. He was just going around town saying howdy ho, things like that, just as a way for them to include toilet humour, because that's all you can really do with him, because, you know, it's just, he's not a person, he's not got much else to his character, he's basically just an empty shell that they've created to exercise their ability to create toilet humour. That's essentially what they created him for, and that's the reason they continued him, was to keep some aspects of the old show into the current state of the show. But does it really fit? We'll get onto that in a minute. The third reason, and this is probably not as big of a reason as the other two reasons, is because of his voice as a character is just really hard to do. And obviously the creators have been getting older over time, and it's a pretty hard voice to do an impression of, Mr Hankey's voice. There is no way I'm doing that on this video. And it's also a really high pitch, and as the creators have been getting older, they've had to stop pitching up their voices naturally and speaking in a natural high pitch. That's why Cartman's voice sounds different now, is because they're not actually speaking in a higher pitch, because they're too old to do that now. Their voices aren't powerful enough to have that range of a pitch. Instead, they use artificial pitching, and the limitation with artificial pitching is you can't really get it high enough to do Mr Hankey's voice, because you can't say it in a low pitch, because then if you pitch it up, it'll never get that pitch right. And you'll understand if you've ever worked with pitch shifting audio yourself, but it can't really get that right pitch that Mr Hankey's voice has. It always goes too nasally for that pitch to sound right. That's why Cartman's voice sounds different now. Is, well, A, it's artificially pitched, and B, because artificial pitching makes a voice sound all nasally. So I thought I'd throw that third reason in for why they did get rid of him. So it's obviously nothing as important as the other two reasons, but anyway, there are three reasons why they got rid of him. Now let's take a look at some reasons why they should bring him back. So the first reason they should bring Mr Hankey back is, for old time's sake, to get some reminiscence of how the show used to be, because really, if you watch one of the newer episodes and then watch a season 1 episode, or the other way around, doesn't really matter, you'll notice that it's quite a bit different now. Other than just the plot, which characters are main characters has obviously changed massively because Cartman, Kyle, Kenny and Stan aren't really the main characters anymore. Now the focus is more on Randy and some of the other adults as well. So that's the main thing. They've pretty much retired Kenny as a character, and a lot of the other old characters have been retired as characters too. So that's the reason they should bring him back, is because they need to keep some of the original characters from the show, just to show that it is the same show. And speaking of keeping it like the original show, they're not doing a very good job at keeping the animation like the original show, because it definitely isn't. It's way too complex now, in my opinion. That's how the show was formed, on the basis that it was satire. It was supposed to be low effort and be able to be mass-produced in a very short amount of time, not with all these complex edits that they've done now. That's the first reason why they should bring him back, is just to give the older viewers of the show some reminiscence of how it used to be, and just to keep it true to the original show. So now we'll move on to another reason why he should stay in the show. The second reason why they should bring him back is as a comic relief character for the show as a whole, because obviously they've been delving into some pretty deep, dark subjects and had some pretty dark humour revolving around modern issues like politics recently, so they really should have some sort of comic relief character, because that's another thing they've been lacking in the recent shows, is a character that can just step in situations where they're dealing with a really dark matter and give a quick way to relieve from that matter, make some light-hearted, humorous, basic joke, like a toilet humour joke, and Mr Hankey would perfectly fit that role. Obviously, you kind of do have similar characters, like in the Tegrity Farms episodes, where Towley comes along and inspects Tegrity Farms to see if the weed's right. That's kind of funny, as a sort of comic relief, because, hey look, there's this drug-addicted towel walking around, that's funny. But the thing is, other than that, that only works for situations like that. But Mr Hankey would work in a lot more versatile way, because toilet humour is very versatile, so they could bring him back just to help give some comic relief to the show in these dark subject matters that they're dealing with now. That's the second reason why they should bring him back to the show. Well, the third reason why they should bring Mr Hankey back, this kind of ties into the first reason. Basically, it's the, old South Park good, new South Park bad argument, but the South Park Christmas episodes, because every year, or in most of the seasons, they'll do some sort of Christmas episode where they do something remotely Christmas related, and it just feels empty without Mr Hankey there, because that was one of the key parts of Christmas in South Park, other than the arrival of Santa Claus in South Park, and he's a pretty funny character. Mr Hankey was really important to the show in the Christmas episodes. And it just doesn't feel complete without Mr Hankey spreading Christmas joy around the town. Just feels like no matter how hard they work to make Santa Claus and other Christmas characters better characters, and as much as they develop on those characters, it still can't make up for the fact that Mr Hankey has gone from South Park now. So that's the third reason. It doesn't seem right when they do any Christmas themed episodes to not have Mr Hankey there. So they're all three reasons. So now we're going to get on to the conclusion of the video. Should they bring him back or not? Alright, so I've thought it over and I've come to the conclusion. This is just my opinion. You might disagree, or you might agree. I don't really mind, but in my opinion, I do think Mr Hankey should come back to South Park, because after thinking over reasons why he shouldn't, and the reasons why he should. I feel like there's just more reasons why he should come back than reasons why he shouldn't. And on the topic of them not being able to do the voice because they're too old, as it's been evidenced by the fact that they can still do Towley's voice, they are able to do voices in a higher pitch, and Towley's voice is pretty much identical to Mr Hankey's voice, so they should be able to do Mr Hankey's voice. And also, if they can just put a bit of thought into the scripts and put Mr Hankey in at appropriate times, they will be able to use him as a character again, as long as they can keep him just as a background character and as comic relief when they need him, and they don't overuse him. And also, if they do carry on with doing Christmas episodes of South Park, it just wouldn't be right without Mr Hankey. They need to keep some of the old characters just to show that it's still South Park and there's still elements of the old show there. But those are just my thoughts on whether Mr Hankey should come back to South Park or not. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like on the video. That would really help me out. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And also, make sure to subscribe to Brickspace, my main channel, if you haven't seen that yet. But that is it for today's video. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!